I would like to invite Mr. Maxim Vandekerckhove, Youth Representative from Belgium and ASEF Young Leaders Summit representative, to give his remarks. Mr. Vandekerckhove, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone from Europe. I hope you can all hear me well. Excellencies, distinguished speakers and participants, thank you very much for having us here as young people. And actually, this is a very, very interesting topic because we will be the very first generation that will be able, through this kind of mobilities, to make agreements, to make academic cooperations, to make business deals with each other in the future when we will all go to our professional lives. We will be able to do it in a way which we understand the cultural, religious, and economic differences between our countries. And this is the first time that as a new generation, we will be able to implement this in the way we work together with each other. And life below water is actually a very good topic to link all of this, because water, the ocean, is something we all share. The water flows around the world, and that's also what our IDs need to do. And indeed, COVID showed that these soft skills that are learned through learning mobility is not something that we can take for granted, because we saw that this part of soft skills is not yet in the mindset of policymakers when it comes to education. When the pandemic started, universities and high schools were actually the last ones to close and the first ones to reopen, at least in Europe, for a good reason, obviously. But youth exchanges and mobilities were something that was not taken care about. It was something, oh yeah, we can do this later. This is not crucial for the education of our youth. And I guess this was a very, very big mistake, certainly in Europe. And still today, Erasmus Plus is not yet fully running again. We cannot take these exchanges for granted. We as youth have to fight for these mobility chances, for these opportunities that we have, because it is part of sharing our democracy. It is part of making sure that we stand strong against states and against powers that don't follow the rule of law. Learning mobility needs to become part of every single curriculum around the world. It needs to be part of your job life, because learning mobility doesn't stop when you start your professional life, but it also needs to be intergenerational. You saw that during this pandemic, there has been a gap between generations. There has been fear. There has been tremendous differences also through these technological changes. So we need to make sure that this intergenerational part is coming into the learning mobility also for the youth. And of course, virtual exchanges are very good for inclusiveness. Almost everyone can join, no matter your financial or physical abilities, no matter if your state provides you support for this or not. But let's make sure that it remains a hybrid form of exchange. I'm in favor to make all exchanges, all physical exchanges, also virtual. So we need to make a plea that states and organizations, certainly for example Erasmus Plus, also give this budget for technical support, and that all physical exchanges can be broadcasted online. And let's make sure that exchanges primarily after this pandemic remain a physical happening. We all had many work meetings online. We had our classes online. We had all these youth exchanges that are conducted online. And we started to believe actually that this is also okay and that we can learn an equal amount from that, but this is absolutely not true. We need to focus on rebuilding this physical connection, and youth exchanges are primarily about human interaction, about tasting new cultures, about feeling the temperature of society where you go and feeling its problems and learning from it. It is about showing society that youth is still active. It is about going to small villages and towns and show them that they count as well. So this hybrid form is something we really, really need to invest in. This said, youth exchanges should also be more structured and more well communicated, because now, of course, Erasmus Plus is still one of the best examples in the world of an inclusive way of doing exchanges, but still it is not very well communicated. It's not accessible for everyone, and it's still, as my colleague Jetawat said, it's still an elitary thing. You need to be very highly educated and know where these things can be found to be able to participate. So we need to bring this more open. And my last point, let's indeed focus this more on the SDGs. Certainly in Europe, each year we have an influx on a myriad of projects which are working around this kind of broad topics like equality or communication, which is perfectly fine, but they are made very broadly to be accepted, to be open to everyone. But the international and the global exchange need to be more focused on specific topics that are global and that are actually infecting us all. We need to focus on this international cooperation. We need to focus on topics that are global. Like I said, all these problems flow with our oceans around the world. We all share them. We need to make sure that we learn from each other's best practices way more. Europe already focused a lot on collaboration with the African youth, which is good, but now it is really time to look to Asia, to look to the emerging economies for sure in Asia, and make sure that we keep on promoting democracy around the world, because this is our voice, and this is how we will make sure that youth will always have a strong impact on all policies in the future through this kind of mobilities and through the visibility we can create through that. Thank you for it.
Thank you both youth representatives for sharing their views on the future of learning mobility. Such perspectives will be key inputs for our discussions today. We will now begin the first panel discussion session.